Hello, this is Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and I'm here with a Taylor 916 CE. The 916 CE has been around for a while, but earlier this year, it became the latest model to be redesigned by Taylor's designer, Andy Powers. And as such, it's really become a different sounding instrument, and it also has received some cosmetic tweaks that differentiate it from earlier 900 series Taylors. Let's back up a little bit. And the 900 series guitars have been in Taylor's lineup for a long time. Goes back all the way to the late 70s, almost all the way back to Taylor's beginnings. And they were originally introduced to have a higher end option in addition to the 800s, which at the time were Taylor's only guitar. The 900s have received a few tweaks over the years. The inlay has changed over the years. Most of them have been spruce and rosewood. Some early ones had maple back and sides. But overall, the 900 series has been kind of at the top end of Taylor's lineup for a long time. In the last few years, the presentation series has sort of taken the spot of the top offerings that Taylor has, but the 900 series still offers a little bit of a more utilitarian kind of a vibe than the ultra high-end presentation series. So what's new this year with the 900s? Well, it's been reshaped and redesigned the way Andy Powers has gone through the 800 series and 600 series. And by that I mean that they've really taken a look at everything other than the fundamental shape of the guitar. He's worked with the thicknesses of the woods to really optimize the sound. He's looked at the bracing. They're using a much thinner finish than they were using before. And so really, no rock's been unturned. The guitar's been completely reimagined and as such really changed quite significantly in tone. And I would say it's changed to the more open sounding, more dynamic sounding, really a great sounding guitar. And I'm going to demonstrate a little bit more after we talk a little bit more about it. As I mentioned, the guitar has a spruce top. It's a Sitka spruce top, Indian rosewood back and sides. It's got Taylor's NT neck, of course, which is a mahogany neck. One of the most significant changes to earlier 900s is that the guitar now features the armrest bevel. This is something that Taylor began offering as a custom option several years ago. It's been part of some fall limited and limited editions, and it's been part of the presentation series for a little while. But this is the first time it's been available on anything below that in a standard offering. It's kind of designed after the Grit-Laskin armrest, and many custom makers are starting to offer this as a feature. It really does make the guitar very comfortable to play, particularly since this is kind of a mini jumbo kind of a shape and size, fairly deep, and so it makes the guitar very comfortable to rest under your arm there. You won't get pinched nerves or anything like that in here. Beautiful design as well. Andy Powers has come up with a new fingerboard inlay for the guitar done in abalone, power shell, and pearl. 900s have always had abalone purfling, and in this case, again, it's abalone and pearl and power shell. And if you can see it, it's bordered with two very thin strips of koa, which is very cool. So the purfling really is a pearl and koa and design. The koa is also part of the neck's binding. Not on the outside, which is ebony, but there's a strip of koa going all the way from the nut to the fingerboard extension. It's completely bound in it. Very cool design. A little bit less distracting from a player's perspective than to have the actual binding be koa. I really like this design. It's got an ebony headstock overlay, and there's also a overlay on the back of the headstock. Goto 510 tuners with a 21:1 ratio, very smooth. Again, it's what a lot of custom makers have been using, and Taylor has been using it on their presentation series guitars. So a bit of an upgrade from the standard Taylor tuners. So as the name 916 CE suggests, the guitar is the grand symphony-size, referring to the body size, which is one of Taylor's newer body shapes. Very versatile, kind of an all-around guitar. Taylor suggests that this guitar is great for fingerstyles, strumming, really all kinds of styles, and we'll get into that a little bit later. It doesn't have a pickguard, so that might lean it toward the fingerstyle crowd a little bit. If you're a strummer and you like the way of the guitar sounds, you could of course add a pickguard to the guitar. That wouldn't be a problem. A standard Taylor pickguard would fit right on there. The guitar is outfitted with Taylor's still relatively new ES2 pickup system, and that is mounted behind the saddle in the bridge. There are 3 piezo sensors built right into the bridge itself. The preamp is mounted here in the upper bout with 3 controls, volume and 2 tone controls, and the battery and output is at the end pin jack. Let me show you how the guitar sounds a little bit more, and before I get into the pickup, plugging it to my amp, I want to show you how the guitar sounds acoustically a little bit more. And one of the things that impresses me about this particular instrument is the complexity of the open strings and the nice big voice it gets from that, particularly kind of in the middle range here, the G and D and A string. So I'm going to play a little ballad, a little bit of a Pretty Girl Milking a Cow, traditional Irish tune played in drop D tuning that really kind of shows the lower end of the dynamic range of the guitar, how complex it can sound with a fairly soft attack. Beautiful sustain, the notes can really bloom even though I'm not hitting the guitar very hard at all. That's not to say that fretted notes further up the neck don't have a great tone as well. The guitar is very balanced, great volume further up the neck as well, but it's really those open strings, the rich blooming sound of those notes that I find most impressive with it. So let's also listen to the guitar play it with a pick. As I mentioned earlier, the guitar really has a big dynamic range that isn't limited to playing fingerstyle. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like strummed a little bit. I'm using a fairly heavy Wagon pick here, so I'm really going to dig in a bit. So really a nice full sound would be great in a rhythm guitar roll, or if you're accompanying yourself singing, very powerful, loud, and complex sound when strummed with a flat pick. Okay, so let's have a listen to how the guitar sounds plugged into an amp. I've got a little Fishman Loudbox Mini here. I'm plugging straight in. As you can see, the EQ is basically flat on the amp. It's flat on the guitar. Again, I'm going to play it with a pick a little bit. You can tell it's very balanced. There's no strings that ring out louder than others. Natural attack, overall a very natural sound. I've played several guitars with this new ES2 system in it now, and it's a very impressive, quick, easy way to get a great sound. It really doesn't need any further processing. So that's the new redesigned Taylor 916 CE. Whether or not you're into the elaborate looks of the instrument, it's hard to deny that it's a great sounding instrument, very fun to play, and just overall a great representation of what Taylor is capable of these days. For Peghead Nation, I'm Teja Gerken.